Hello again. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about how to prep chanterelles. These mushrooms and many others are very abundant in this area, and it's a nice foraged wild ingredient that we like to use as often as possible in the kitchen. So a couple of our staff members went out today and harvested these. So it's a small orange mushroom that you find in the wild, but do note that if you're not an experienced forager, please consult with an experienced forager before trying these on your own. So the first thing we need to do is clean them, and you may have heard before that you don't want to wash mushrooms, and this is definitely true because mushrooms will absorb a ton of water and it may start to leach out some of that good flavor that you want. So we want to try just brushing off the dirt as much as possible, and these are just paintbrushes I have at home. Obviously we want to use materials that are safe for food, but we just want to very gently brush that dirt off. But some of it's not coming, and it's probably the case that it's not going to hurt you if you want to keep it as it is. But if you do want to wash your chanterelles, there is a nice way to do it, but you only want to do this right before you're going to cook so that it doesn't absorb that water. So what you're going to do is you're going to take some cold water, and it's important that it's cold so it doesn't start to cook those mushrooms. And you're just going to kind of wiggle it around, try to brush some of that off, and then take a paper towel and gently remove it. And you can also cut off some parts that may be pretty dirty, and you're going to just use this paper towel the same way we were with that paintbrush, where you're just wiping it clean, and then just let it rest some more. That water is going to come off. All right, so I'm going to clean the rest of these, and then I'm going to show you how we're just going to saute them really quickly and really easily. So yeah, be right back. So I have all of my mushrooms cleaned, and I'm ready to get started for cooking. But one thing I wanted to mention that I didn't say before is whenever you're storing mushrooms, so remember, just wash them right before you're going to cook them, but whenever you're storing them, it's best to use a paper bag, and this allows them to breathe, and it can also help absorb some of that moisture that might naturally come off of them. So chanterelles are really one of my favorite mushrooms, and that's partly just because of the way they cook up. They're a really nice size. They do vary, and these ones are all a little small, but they can get quite large, and they're really beautiful to saute because you can just keep them whole, and they'll end up being really beautiful on the plate then. But if you do want to make any of them smaller, or if you want to trim any of the stems off, which you don't need to because they're not woody, but maybe there's still a little bit more dirt, you can just go ahead and cut those off. I do recommend composting anything that you're gonna waste, and just go ahead and make them maybe uniform so they're all gonna cook up the same way. So, like I said, I'm just gonna saute these. Nice and simple, just a little bit of butter, and then I recommend using a nice saute oil with the butter that just keeps it from burning, and just salt and pepper, that's all you're gonna need. All right, so I'm just letting that butter and the oil get warm. We wanna have a hot pan when we start. All right, it looks like we're ready. Don't be shy about using butter. Butter makes everything better. So go ahead and add those right in. Get them nice and coated. And I would go ahead and put on a little bit of salt, just like a nice pinch early, and that's gonna help draw out some of that moisture. Just leave them to do their thing. But you may recall Julia Child saying, don't crowd the pan, so make sure they have plenty of room. So these aren't going to take very long at all. You're going to notice that the color starts to change. It gets a little darker orange, maybe even a little brown. And of course, browning is lovely. It's some of that caramelization that you might want. You can see some of the water is coming out, and I'm gonna time this by whenever this water starts to evaporate. That's gonna be just about when whenever my mushrooms are done. We are almost there. And they're gonna start to smell nice as well. It's partly that butter, but the chanterelles definitely have their own distinct smell. Nice and earthy. You can see that they're going down in size quite a bit. A lot of that water is coming out. All right. So, as you can see, this is a really simple dish to prepare. It's an excellent source of protein. If you're a vegetarian looking for meat substitutes or just want to try something different, or maybe this is already an old favorite, I swear you just can't go wrong with this much butter. You can't go wrong. So, as you can see, this is a really simple dish to prepare. I'm so